Test.
Would like to call to order the Concord City Council work session. Welcome, everyone. Looking over our agenda, most of the items are ones that we're going to be covering on Thursday night. So we move straight down to public hearings. And I think we have some staff reports, and I'll turn it over to the city manager for those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Fred Womble is going to come up. He's our planning and development manager. He's going to handle all three of the public hearing items before council this evening and give you staff reports.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Morris, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Jenkins. The first item before you is case number Z2225, which is a conventional rezoning application request that was considered by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their February 17th public hearing. Okay, there we go. All right. There are multiple parcels included in this request, and the applicant for this request is Vulcan Materials Company. The parcels included in the request are at 7201 and 7205 Trail Road, with the third portion of the subject property being 508 Cessna Road, all these three parcels were annexed on January 8th of this year. Additionally, there's a larger 129-acre parcel to the east that was annexed back in 2016. The applicant is seeking to rezone the subject property from Cabarrus County Countryside Residential and I-1 Light Industrial to I-2 General Industrial to expand the existing quarry use. More specifically, they want to extend their existing overburden storage yard. The overburden storage yard is basically just a yard for storage of loose rock, solids, and clay that's basically just piled up on the site and or hauled off elsewhere. Given the existing I-2 General Industrial to the west of the subject properties, which is the existing Vulcan facility, the proposed change from I-1 Light Industrial to I-2 General Industrial would be an extension of the existing district and allow for the proposed overburden storage yard expansion. This next slide is an aerial view just showing the existing conditions with the subject parcels overlaid there. And in regards to the 2030 land use plan, the three smaller properties are located within the suburban neighborhood land use category, and the larger 100-plus acre parcel is located within the industrial employment land use category. And per the land use plan, the proposed I-2 zoning is not consistent or corresponding zoning classification with the suburban neighborhood land use category. Toward that end, this petition is before the City Council because for consideration as the land use plan is inconsistent with these rezoning designations. So it requires that the zoning map as well as the 2030 land use plan be amended by council to designate all of the properties in this request as industrial employment. At their February 17th meeting of this year, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to forward this request to council with the favorable recommendation as shown by the statements of consistency on the left side of the screen. The statements on the right are presented should council decide otherwise. And in regards to council's next steps are to approve or deny the statement of consistency, or to approve or deny the zoning map amendment, or to approve, and step 3 is to approve or deny the land use plan amendment. And I will gladly respond to any questions council may have at this time.
Any questions on that item? I think we discussed this pretty extensively a couple months ago, so I think we're good.
Yes, sir. All right. All right. Well, since I've got the floor, let's keep rolling. Good afternoon once again, Mayor Morris, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Jenkins. The item before you is the first of 2 right-of-way closure applications for your consideration this afternoon. Council will recall that that it adopted a resolution of intent on this closure request during your February the 12th session. The right-of-way in question is an unopened and unimproved, approximately 50-foot wide area located near the Burridge Road and Old Salisbury Concord Road intersection, as highlighted on this particular slide. The area of closure has an overall area of approximately 37,026 square feet, and plat research indicates that the right-of-way was originally a part of a planned subdivision that was never subdivided. Rock Properties LLC, TC Resources LLC, and Grace Global Methodist Church Incorporated each own a portion of the land immediately adjacent to the area of closure, and each have been notified, and each will receive a portion of the right-of-way being abandoned. This particular slide is taken from the Planning Department drone with the approximate closure area shown by the red cross-hatched area on the left side of this particular picture. And just to recap this request, the petitioners for this right-of-way closure request are the adjacent property owners, as previously mentioned. The area of closure is an unimproved and wooded and consists of approximately 37,260 square feet. Additionally, council should be advised that there are no utilities present in the area of closure, and the planning staff did not receive any objections to the request from any of the reviewing departments. Pursuant to North Carolina general statutes, each petitioner has been briefed on their ownership requirements and the impact of this particular closing. Regarding council's next steps, council is to conduct a public hearing on this matter and to adopt or deny a resolution closing the right-of-way. And I'll gladly respond to any questions council may have at this time.
Any questions on that one? Okay. Ready for the next one.
All right. Good afternoon once again, Mayor Morris, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Jenkins. The item before you is, again, another right-of-way closure application for your consideration. As with the previous request, council adopted a resolution of intent for the closure, for this closure request during the February 12th session. The right-of-way in question is an unopened and unimproved, approximately 50-foot wide area located north of the Burridge Road and Old Salisbury Concord intersection, as highlighted on this particular slide. The area of closure has an overall area of approximately 33,715 square feet.
Alberry Santana.
Like the
Is
previous.
now joining.
And like the previous petition, the right-of-way was originally a part of a planned subdivision that was never subdivided. Rocks Properties LLC and A Day in Paradise LLC each own a portion of the land immediately adjacent to the area of closure, and each property owner will receive a portion of the right-of-way being abandoned. This next slide is a picture taken from the drone showing the approximate area of closure on the right side of this particular slide. And again, just to recap this request to provide some additional details, the petitioners for this right-of-way closure request are the adjacent property owners, as previously mentioned. The area of closure is an unimproved and wooded area and consists of approximately 33,715 square feet. There are no utilities present in the area of closure, and planning staff did not receive any objection to the request from any of the reviewing departments. Pursuant to general statutes, each petitioner has been briefed on the ownership requirements and the impact of this particular closing. Once more, and regarding council's next steps, council is to conduct a public hearing on this matter and to adopt or deny the resolution closing the right-of-way. Glad to field any questions council may have at this time.
Any questions for Fred? I just hope the public doesn't get the impression that we're taking away access to a day in paradise.
No, you're absolutely correct.
Interesting name. Great, thank you. Okay, next up, I think, consider authorizing the city manager to execute a change order number 1 for the North Apron Roadway Project at Concord Pageant Regional Airport. We're happy to have Dirk for that item.
Yes, sir. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Jenkins, it's my last request, but it won't be the last change order for the airport, I can assure you that much. We are requesting approval to increase the contract amount for $298,425, and 0 cents. This is due to some unsuitable material that was found during some excavation with our contractor. This has been reviewed by our engineers, have determined that we need to remove that due to the expansion of a wall needed for the North Roadway apron expansion. We are requesting approval for that. NCDOT Aviation has agreed to continue funding this particular change order. Any questions?
Questions for Dirk? All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Yep.
Okay, next up, consider awarding a bid and authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Williams Electric for the construction of a new 100 kV transmission line down Rock Hill Church Road. Happy to have Caleb with us for this one.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Jenkins. The electric department is in the process of building a 100 kV transmission line down Rock Hill Church Road from Trotman Corner to Substation E at the Poplar Tent intersection. To date, all easements have been acquired and all materials have been ordered. Steel poles are on site and ready to be installed. A job this size will require a contractor with specialized equipment. On February 17, 2026, a formal bid was held and 3 bids were received. Williams Electric was the lowest responsive bidder at $3,009,021. All bids have been reviewed by staff and it's recommended that we accept Williams' bid for this project. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, consider authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a contract with Bionomic Services Incorporated to line 19,974 linear feet of sewer lines and the rehabilitation of 53 manholes. Happy to have Jeff Corley for this item.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Jenkins. Item 3 is our annual slip lining project. We've really adopted this technology. It's a trenchless technology, as some of you are aware, that allows us to rehabilitate, to fix defects in our sewer system without digging up all that is above it, whether it's streets, sidewalks, yards. Basically, we push a felt liner through the existing pipe that has an epoxy on it. It's inflated and pushes that liner against the existing pipe and then heated to cure that epoxy, creating basically a pipe within a pipe that now has its own structural integrity. All those old joints are filled and replaced with that brand new liner. So it's been a very good strategy for us. We budget about $1.2 million every year in system development fees to do this activity. We always, through our asset management program, we identify lengths of pipe. So we go based on length. And each year we put out a length that we think is going to be about $1.2 million. Happy to report this year we had 10 bidders. I don't believe we've ever had 10 bidders for this project since I've been here. And the low bidder was Bionomic Services. We've used them for lining one other time. We also have used them for a couple other projects. We are completely comfortable with them, but you see that low bid was $844,036.73. So we're real excited where we're headed there. That technology is obviously getting cheaper, and that's a really good thing because we'll continue to invest in that technology to make sure our system is performing the way we need to. So we will ask for your approval of that item to move forward.
Thank you. And while we're in between, Councilwoman Santana was trying to log in. She's out of town, and she said she didn't get let in. She's in? Okay. she thinks she's not. But sorry about that. You have a
So
question?
my question is, if this came in so low under bid, did you think about expanding that?
Yeah, we always have some additional footage that we've shaved off. There is a potential, once we get towards the end of this project, it is a line item pricing that we're given through the bid process. So we do have the ability to increase. We actually are planning, working with budget next year. We're looking at changing the way. There's always a rush because this is annual money that we're trying to spend within a year. And we're looking at making some transitions in the coming years to putting this money in a project account, which will give us a lot more flexibility over multiple years, potentially multiple bids during the current year. So we think we're happy where we're going, but there will be an opportunity if there's any high-profile lines we really need to get done, we'll be able to add that to the project at the end. Great question.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, and for our technology people, she says that she can't hear anything, but she's going to try another link, so. Okay, you're good for the next item.
While he's working to get that one up there. There we go. So this next item is changes to city code, specifically chapter 62, where all our fun water and wastewater utility code language lies. It's a very long section, but we're really looking at really two subsections here.
Alberry Santana.
Is now exiting.
I can't get it to move now. Oh, there we go. So why are we making these changes? We have some existing code language that was meant to reduce the use of wastewater pump stations. As you know, through the last couple of years, we have brought projects to you to take pump stations offline. Most recently, the Laurel Park pump station. We've gotten about 4 or 5 of these offline. They cost a lot of money, a lot of electricity to run, a lot of long-term maintenance costs. So there is a huge cost to maintain these systems, and our perspective has been we need to make sure that we're using them very sparingly in the system where they really should be used and for the purposes that they should be used for. The current code uses a one-time maintenance fee in an attempt to limit the use of new and expanded pump stations. There is some concern about the consistency of the system development fee language that we need to go away from the one-time maintenance fee idea, and really you'll see what we've done is we've taken our system extension policy, which has always been in the city code, which has basically been for linear sewer lines, and we're adding the pump station language to our extension policy. So if you're a developer and you're wanting to develop a piece of property, you will use this new language to determine whether the city will or won't entertain a new public pump station on our system. So the first change is Chapter 62, Section 79. This is, again, that extension policy. I'm not going to read all the language. Both of those documents are in your packet. Section A has always existed. That's the linear extension policy. That is remaining untouched. We are adding a brand new Section B, which talks about wastewater pump stations and when and how you're able to consider public wastewater pump stations. The other change is Chapter 62-98. This is where the one-time lift station fee language existed, and we are specifically removing almost all of Section 9. Section 9 also includes some specific design criteria on pump stations that I'm not entirely sure how it got in there. That does not belong in city code. We have that properly handled in our technical standards documents. So we are basically referring all of those minimum design criteria for the wastewater pump stations to the technical standards documents and taking all of that language out of Section 9. Any questions?
Questions for Jeff?
Just doing what we've always done, just in a different way.
Right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, number 5, consider adopting an ordinance ordering the demolition of the structure located at 141 Hemlock Drive Southwest, and I think Chief Hughes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Jenkins. This evening, it is the Hazel Murray Estate located at 141 Hemlock Drive that we're here to discuss. This is a single parcel. The building tax value is $68,560 per Cabarrus County land records. The case was opened on September 15th of 2025. Code enforcement determined the house is dilapidated. They established a hearing date of October 15th, 2025. No one attended that hearing. Finding of fact in order to repair or demolish was issued on October 16th, 2025. And an order to repair or demolish expired on February 25th of 2026. There's been no attempts to come into compliance with this case. Staff's recommendation is to adopt an ordinance ordering the demolition of the structure located at 141 Hemlock Drive, Southwest Concord. If anybody has any questions.
I do, just for clarification, is this the home we talked about off Highway 73?
No, this is Hemlock, which is close proximity to downtown.
I just couldn't place that street in my head. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question, if that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So this property is different from the other two properties that are under eminent domain, right? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. I just-
The reason this one wasn't considered for that program is because there was an active tax case that may or may not have been completed last week or 2 weeks ago. So there's an active tax lien on this property.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means that they are not paying, it's dilapidated, and they are not paying the property taxes on it?
So this property is part of an estate that is, for all intents and purposes, abandoned and has been abandoned for quite some time.
Right.
And there are several properties that will fall under this estate. So over the next few years, you're probably going to see more of these.
And so when the property's demolished, then that'll be an additional tax lien?
Yes, the city's costs will become a lien on the property.
Right.
I would not expect that to
Ever be
be
paid?
paid.
Right.
The issue with the property is that it's been abandoned for so long that the ownership is so clouded, no one can clear this title except the city.
Right.
I mean, or some other power, the jurisdiction that could exercise the power of eminent domain. Because the heirs are so dissipated and the ownership interests are so dissipated, it would be cost prohibitive for any of them to try and come back and claim and clear the title to that property.
Yes,
Just a
Terry.
quick one, does the city take title to that property
No,
then?
sir.
So who does?
No one. It remains with the heirs of the previous owner. That's correct. There are many, 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 many properties in the city like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next up is consider approving demolition of 372 and 374 Lincoln Street Southwest. We're happy to have Mary with us for that item.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, my item for this afternoon is the demolition of 372 and 374 Lincoln Street. 372 may be an address that council remembers. This was the public housing unit that unfortunately had the 3 children that passed away, Daniela, Stephen, and Emanuela. This property has been sitting vacant, awaiting the steps necessary to complete the process for us to work with HUD to demolish this unit. And just a little recap for council to remember the steps that we have undergone with this property. The fire did occur August of 2023. Staff had to wait for the fire marshal calls and origin report. There was an independent investigation that was completed in September of 2023. There's a fire investigation preliminary summary of findings that was presented in April of 2025, and then it was finally released by the insurance investigator in July of 2025. It was at that point in time that the litigation with the family concluded in August of that year as well. So August of 2025 was the first point in time when staff could actually begin working with HUD to get the approval to demolish this unit. At this point in time, the insurance information and the findings from that have been presented to HUD. It's being investigated and reviewed by their engineers. The next step in this process is to get your approval for that demolition of those 2 units, and also to complete an environmental review, which is also underway. And staff is also mindful of the fact that this will be a trying time for residents and also for the family. And so to be mindful of that, before the demolition takes place, we will be reaching out to the family. We will be making accommodations for the temporary memorial that is present. And we've also worked with a counselor who has agreed to be on site and also be available to residents before and after the demolition if needed. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mary? Yes, ma'am.
How long will that process take?
Unfortunately, I can't give you an answer on that. The demolition itself will not take that long, but it's going to be going through the process with HUD. And this will be the first time that Concord has gone through an approval to demolish a unit. And with HUD, within their system that they use, they don't let you see all of the steps. You have to do a step and complete that step before they open the next step. So it could take weeks, it could take months, and unfortunately, I don't have the ability to give a timeline. And our HUD rep has sent me to several sites that don't give you a time frame. But as soon as I have one, I can share that with you.
Yeah, I'd just be interested. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for, going through this process. I know it's been difficult. It's difficult for the community and for myself, but, I would like to share with council that myself and Sally Coleman, I think everybody here knows Sally, worked with the school system, the school board, to acknowledge Daniela during graduation. She would have graduated in 2025. And a couple of weeks ago, Sally was able to get a cap and gown and her diploma certificate and get it to her mom. So I just wanted to share that.
Any other questions or comments? I think it's really important, the information that you gave for the public to understand the process that you have to go through. I've heard some conversation out in the community as to why there has been such a delay, and I think you did a good job of explaining all the steps that are required, and hopefully people take note of that.
And one of the things that I've been doing at the resident council meetings is updating them on the process. And tomorrow evening is their next meeting, so anyone who's bored and wants to come, they would love for you to come. We'll be updating on this as well as several of the other things that are going on.
Great, thank you. Okay, we move now to item 7, to execute an amendment for a traffic signal, and I think Tony's going to tell us about that one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Jenkins. Yes, this location for reference is the intersection on Bruton Smith Boulevard, just to the west of the golf course where the new atrium emergency department is being built and the Hendrick facility is being built to the south. The developers of those facilities had a traffic mitigation agreement that required them to build this traffic signal. Their timelines are aggressive, and in order to meet this, the goal of getting the signal built, they've provided us a payment in lieu for us to construct the traffic signal. We've received those funds in the last month, and this item is to appropriate the funds to execute a tax order with our on-call traffic signal contractor to construct the signal. So the funds we've received are enough to execute this task order, as well as purchase the materials and complete the work with city forces to complete the full traffic signal installation.
Great.
And I'll take any questions.
Questions on that one? All right, thank you, sir. Okay, next up, we have Leslie Reeder to talk about financing agreement.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, Ms. Jenkins. As part of the fiscal year 2026 budget, council previously approved staff to move forward with installment financing contract to pay the cost of acquisition of various fire trucks and related equipment. And banking RFP was prepared to request proposals from financial institutions with respect to the $6,238,000 installment financing contract. A summary of bids received is attached to the agenda item. Staff is recommending that we enter into an installment financing contract with Atlantic Union Public Finance, Inc., as they were the bidder with the lowest effective interest rate. The interest rate in Atlantic Union Public Finance, Inc. proposal was 3.16% for a 5-year term. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions on that one? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next up, item 9, consider allocating sewer to Custom Ingredients, doing business as Custom Flavors. We're happy to have Samantha from the EDC to talk about this one.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Payne, Ms. Kolchinsky, and Ms. Jenkins. Thank you for your time this afternoon. Custom Flavors, a food flavoring manufacturing facility, did not request or need sewer allocation when they originally applied for the Economic Development Grant. They were located in an existing building that had an existing sewer allocation associated with it prior to their occupancy. The request now is for your consideration for allocation. 5,000 gallons per day is driven by record growth in both new and existing customers via their Concord facility. Happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Any questions for Samantha? I think that would be great.
So I would like to just take a moment to sort of explain why this request is outside of the normal quarterly sewer allocation. I think it's important for this information to be out there. The city, when city council set up the sewer allocation policy, there were essentially two sides of that. The first side was a regular allocation process where someone needs a sewer allocation, they send in an application, it gets processed by staff, it gets presented to city council does their thing, and then we have the meeting and the allocations go forward in the way that we've all become very familiar with. The second side of that was economic development. There was a separate bucket of available allocations set aside for economic development. And typically the way that occurs is when a project is brought to city council and requests an economic development incentive, they would know at that time what their sewer requirements, or have at least some pretty close idea what their sewer requirements are. And in this case, that really did not occur. And the sewer policy was not clear, really did not speak to this issue at all of having an economic development incentive recipient come back at some later date to then request their sewer. So that's why this one is treated differently, because it really is tied to an economic development incentive, and the policy did not clarify exactly what would happen in that kind of instance, because, well, we can't think of everything. So that's why this one's a little bit different.
Great. Okay, thank you. And then I think our next item, which Valerie, you can explain, is to fix that.
Yes, so as I said, the economic development policy portion of the sewer allocation policy really did not think about or have any direction for how to handle when an economic development recipient comes back at a later time and requests sewer allocation, more sewer allocation than they got before, new sewer allocation, whatever the case may be. And pursuant to City Council's direction, we are offering an addition of language to that policy to clarify that any allocation awarded through the economic development process shall be based upon the amount requested by the applicant at the time of consideration of the economic development incentive. Any additional request subsequent to the approval of the economic development incentive shall be required to submit an application and proceed through the allocation process that is set forth in the sewer allocation policy. So the idea is that if this occurs again, this kind of request would be moved back to the other side so that it's treated like a regular sewer application for allocation.
So in layman's terms, anybody going forward, with the exception of what we just discussed prior, gets in line, like everybody else?
Correct. They submit an application like any other applicant for allocation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, we move now to consider adopting changes made to the mayor and city council operating principles document. This is part of our discussion that occurred at our retreat a month or so ago, and as are the next couple of items, and I'm going to turn it over to the city manager to talk about those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you stated, council at the retreat earlier this year did discuss 4 separate documents that belong to you that are administrative and procedural in nature. And 3 of those, council saw fit to make some changes, and these are presented as 3 separate items to you. So the first one, item number 11, is the City Council Operating Principles document. And so that is on the screen in front of you. You all have received copies of the proposed document changes, with it being redlined and strike through, the strike through being the items that are proposed to be removed, and the red letters are the items that are proposed to be added to. And so that is similar to the other 2 documents as well. Happy to answer any questions about these operating principles that council may have, but again, you've seen these documents in the past.
Questions or comments? Okay, move on to the next one.
All right, so the next one is the rules and time limitation for public hearings document. Again, similar to the previous document, what you saw is the proposed changes that was discussed at the retreat and then subsequently reviewed by you as well. And so that document is on here for your approval on Thursday night. Happy to answer any questions if council has any.
Questions or comments? Yeah, and I think this kind of just clears up a few foggy things about making sure everybody gets their appropriate time to speak and so forth. Okay, on to the next one.
So in the last document, it's a little bit different. It is recommended with some changes, but there is a small little nuance at the very end of this document that says no changes can be made without 30 days elapsing. So I'm presenting this to you tonight for your consideration. However, no action will be taken on this Thursday night to allow the 30 days to surpass. It will be on and show as old business on your April council agenda. And then at that point in time, at the April regular meeting, you can take action to meet the lettering in the documentation itself. And so again, this is a little bit more of a lengthy document, but just really talks about the procedures that council has for council meetings, how the agenda is worded. So a few changes there, a lot of just grammatical things, more so than anything, but there are some other substantive changes. So again, some strike through, also some added items as well. So happy to take any questions that council may have based on your discussion.
Excuse me, I did have a question that I somewhat discussed with you earlier today, Lloyd, after I read through it again. I have a little bit of a pause on items J and K, and I think we just passed it. I think it's under the public hearing section under the agenda on it was page 70 in all of our, let's see if I think you passed it. Go back up. I think it's back up. I think it's under agenda so I think you've passed it. I just think in light of some things that have happened locally and some cases that we have read, I feel like everything about this is okay, except I would really like us to consider citing the actual state statute that speaks to this. I think that leaves a little bit of openness there as to what defines decorum. And I think we just might be exposing ourselves a little more here than maybe we should.
Where's the specific at, so we can pull it up on the screen?
Who's running this? Can you go back up just a
I
little
think
bit?
on this document, it's on the second page of the rules of procedure. We had a very large area that was marked out, item G.
So go
You're
to
talking about
page
the
2, please.
Two after.
I think it's under public, right here.
Here.
There you go. It's items J and K.
Okay, so those J and K is staying, and the items above it, G, H, and I, is being proposed to be removed.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right.
And so I read over those a couple of times, and I wish we could leave that part in there about not having wearing mask in here other than medical mask, but okay. But the ones that really cause me to pause are items J and K there. And I just feel like we should, in light of some cases that we talked about at our retreat and some other things around, I just feel like the state statute should be referenced there. And I think that if we did that, I just think it's more clearly defined, what defines decorum, if that makes any sense. The state statute is 143-318.17. It's disruptions of official meetings. And it pretty clearly defines it. It basically says the same thing here, but I just feel like it ought to be cited. And that would be the change that I would ask that we would make, that we would just cite that state statute just for clarity, if for nothing else.
Yeah, certainly council can make any changes that you deem necessary.
And I brought a copy of that if you all are interested in reading it. But I just think it keeps it very clean. It defines it. It's not making us look like from this seat that we're bullies or just going to throw someone out because we feel like it. I just think it adds a lot of clarity in my most humble opinion.
Any other comments? Yeah, I think the concern that I would have with that, based on the discussions that we recently had with the School of Government, are the recent cases that have changed some of those things. And I think there's a lot of that that's up in the air. I think if we cite the state statute, that is subject to change at the whim and fancy of the General Assembly, which we might not even necessarily be informed about. Betty, did you have something?
I guess I was thinking about the case of the gentleman in the back of a council chamber somewhere that held up a sign. And, I think that actually went to the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, Valerie. I think you sent this case to us. Yeah, it went pretty far. And that was where I was really thinking that I just thought, if we cite, I see your point, Steve. I think you're exactly right that, that statute could change and we would not know that. But there again, I just feel like having somewhere something cited that says this is what we're basing this on. Again, I just feel like it more clearly defines it. But, obviously we will vote on that. But I just felt like that. When I was reading through it again today, that jumped out at me. And I thought that doesn't look as clean as I feel like it should look. So that was just my thought on it. And I was just going to ask if you all would consider us adding that or some type of verbiage that says where we got this, the basis for that.
Right. Okay. Other questions or comments?
So very quickly, this is not on our agenda for this meeting. It's
Correct. I'm simply presenting it to you tonight for consideration. Unlike the other previous two documents, they can be actioned on Thursday night. This one will not be actioned until the April council meeting, the regular council
So
meeting.
in answer to Lori's question, it'd be nice to have our attorney look at that and see if this was a useful addition or not, or if it would create more controversy, more confusion.
So I do not believe it would create more confusion. I also don't know that it's strictly necessary. You can adopt whatever rules you find are appropriate for your proceedings. You cannot violate the state law regardless of what your rules say. So as long as the rules are in alignment with the state law, no problem, fine, you can have whatever rules you want. To the extent the rules become out of alignment with state law because of a change from the legislature or interpretation by a court, what that simply means is that you can't interpret your rules to violate state law. So from my perspective, you can if you want to, you don't. I mean, it doesn't.
Doesn't really have an impact, is that what you're saying?
From my perspective, no. Now, does it make it, could someone read that? And, I mean, maybe. But from my perspective, I don't think it makes any difference really whether you cite it or not. So a lot of times we'll have something in city code that will cite to a statute, and the statute will, or a different part of the code, and the statute will either change or go away, or the code will change or go away, the code section. Kevin's looking at me with that expression on his face because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then we struggle with, you know, we're citing to something that doesn't exist anymore, so how does that change? And then we have to go back and do an amendment. It's just, sometimes it works out for the better and sometimes it works out for the worse, so it's just hard to predict.
I appreciate that clarification.
Okay, anything else? All right, then we will now move to our consent agenda, and I am not aware of anybody that has asked any questions or expressed any concern about any of those items. So that takes us to, that completes our agenda, and we do have need of a closed session. And so I would entertain a motion to move that we go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 and 4 in order to consult with an attorney to protect the attorney-client privilege and to discuss the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by this public body.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. We are now in closed session. Thank you.